All right, it's unnecessary roughness extra. We rarely do this, especially in the off season. I guess sometimes we do it in the regular season when things pop off, especially in coach hire season. But right now, college football is burning, and it smells like jealousy. It smells like lack of respect. It smells delicious. I love it. College football absolutely up in flames right now. And who? Who set it aflame? Who threw the match onto the gasoline? The guy who's dominated college football for the last 10, 15 years, Nick Saban, last night goes on one of these dick-sucking tours that the colleges do where they make a little money and everybody gets to come out and hear their coach speak and get excited about the next season. It goes on one of these tours, and Nick Saban decides on his tour he's going to talk not about how great Alabama's going to be this year and they're going to be elite. They'll be the best team in the country as usual. He doesn't want to talk about that. He wants to talk about NIL. And he wants to talk about other teams. And he wants to talk about Jimbo Fisher and how Jimbo Fisher has bought all the players. And he wants to talk about Deion Sanders, how Deion Sanders bought a player. He wants to talk about everything but Alabama football, which is weird. So you know what's happened. I'm Brandon Walker with Unnecessary Reference, by the way. Casey, not here today, but I'm just going to do this real quick. 5 to 10 minutes. I have 7 takes written down about this drama created by Nick Saban and abetted by Jimbo Fisher and others. Here's take number 1. Alabama coach Nick Saban. Nick Saban is the greatest coach of all time in college football, period. He is the greatest coach ever. Done deal. No Bear Bryant, no Bo Schembechler, no Newt Rockne. The greatest coach of all time is Nick Saban. He has won in an era where nobody else wins with this kind of regularity, and he has dominated. He has carried a dynasty past dynasty stages. Usually dynasties last 3-5 years. He's going on since 2009. They've been at the top of the sport. It is incredible. He is the greatest coach ever, but he looks small here. He looks tiny. He looks weak. He looks insecure. He looks wrong. He looks like somebody looking for a fight. He looks like a child whose favorite toy has been taken away from it, and he doesn't know how to act. At first, his lip quivers, and then he lashes out, and then ultimately he just throws a full-on tantrum. And I don't know if last night was the lip quiver or the tantrum or the acting out, but Nick Saban looks small here. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with each other. College football players are getting paid legally now. There are legal means to pay college football players. Doesn't mean college football players are getting paid for the first time. Doesn't mean that at all. But it does mean everything is supposedly on the up and up. Although it seems the teams that are dominating the most are the ones that have the biggest problems in NIL right now. That's an interesting thing. Let's look at who's really upset about NIL. Let's look at who's really – it's not the teams like the Mississippi States of the world or the Iowa States of the world, the Purdue's of the world, that stand to not be able to compete with some of these bigger spenders. It's the teams that are used to getting their way. It's the teams that are used to going to the grocery store and going to the express line and getting the best ingredients. But the only problem here is that Nick Saban can't handle getting cut in the grocery line. And he got cut. Jimbo Fisher walked in the grocery store and went right to the register, self-checkout, and got the best ingredients in the store this year, and Nick Saban cannot handle it. You are not entitled to the best groceries in the store every single year just because you are you. You are not entitled to having the best of everything all the time. And Nick Saban wants that. And it is apparent he wants that. Now, Nick Saban wins. Why? 3 reasons. Number 1, he gets the players. Number 2, he develops the players. Number 3, he puts the players who's developed into a great X's and O's plan. A lot of coaches have 1 and 2 without 3. A lot of coaches have 1 and 3 without 2. Some coaches have 3, no 1 or 2. Nick Saban has all 3 ingredients to be an elite college football coach. That's why he wins. But now that players are getting paid across this country and the world is changing and we've had so much change in a small amount of time, Nick Saban looks small. And there's a reason he looks small. He's driven by insecurity. That's why he's so fucking great. He's driven by the fact he is the best. The best, the best. But he's constantly looking around to see who's trying to be the best, and it pushes him to be the best even more. And he looks around, sees Jimbo getting the top recruited class or the top rated class in the history of college football, and the insecurity that drives him to be the best also tells him this ain't right. So he goes after and he says Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M bought all their players. Can I share a secret with you? You know who else bought all their players? Every single college football team that's competed for a championship in the last 50 fucking years. That's who bought all their players. Am I lying, Jack? No, I'm not lying. We're already on point 3, by the way. I kind of blew through. Jack made me do this in 5 to 10 minutes, so I'm getting there. Number 1 point was Nick Saban's the greatest coach ever. He looks small here. Number 2 is he's driven by insecurity. That's what makes him great, but it makes him prone to do what he did last night, which is lash out at Jimbo Fisher. It's the same reason a couple of years ago he won the opener handily and he lashed out at Maria Taylor when she asked him the quarterback question. It's the same reason he snaps at reporters. It's insecurity. Insecurity can make men look small, but it can also make men be great. And I think it's done both for him. Point number 3. Name, image, and likeness. And we're getting to Jimbo, by the way. He's not blameless in this at all. Name, image, and likeness is ultimately good because it takes care of the players that make your sport. It is ultimately good. However, it has been botched completely and has created anarchy. Everybody's pets' heads are falling off right now. Saban's whining about Jimbo. Lane Kiffin's over there saying, please give me some attention. I whine about Jimbo too. Dabo's probably saying something stupid somewhere and then putting a Bible verse on the end of it so his fans will eat it up. It's anarchy out there. NIL is good. Transfer portal is good. These are good things. This is freedom and compensation for players. It's long been overdue. But the NCAA botched the rollout. There were no guidelines. There were no restrictions. It's the Wild West. Here, kill each other. That's what the NCAA said. And Saban and Jimbo are killing each other. It's kind of great. Point 4. Oh, I kind of said this earlier. But I think if you really want to know what's telling about this sport, Saban isn't mad that Jimbo bought players. He isn't mad that Texas A&M's recruiting class might have cost $30 million. He's mad because his grip on the sport might be loosening a bit. If he doesn't have access to the best players, then his access to the top of the sport might be dwindling. And that's where it's interesting to me. If you really look at who's upset about NIL and opening this thing up, it's not the teams with the most to gain like the teams at the bottom of the Power 5. It's the teams with the most to lose. The teams who mastered the old way of making sure players were acquired for their schools, who mastered the old ways of backroom, let's do this, do that, and you can come to our school. The teams that master that in this new world, it looks more equitable, and therefore it looks scarier. That is my point about Nick Saban. I had one more just rolling around in my head that is just I should have written it down. Go ahead, Jack.
I mean, this has been great so far.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I just got one more point that hopefully it pops out of my head. Yeah. Number 5, point number 5. Jimbo Fisher isn't blameless here. He's not. He's not blameless here. It's a two-man fight. And there are other coaches watching it. There are other coaches agreeing or disagreeing. But Jimbo Fisher isn't blameless. Because you know why? He's doing the same thing Saban did. Oh, but by the way, Saban saying they bought all their players and we've never done it like that. We've never done that. We do things the right way. You're so fucking full of shit. You're so full of shit. And secondly, when this NIL thing started, who was the coach who stood at a mic and raised his hand and before anybody bragged about how much money his quarterback was getting before he ever took a meaningful snap? That was Nick Saban. He's the first coach that ever stood up there and said, my quarterback's getting $1 million. Why? Not because he was happy for his quarterback, because of how many recruits he'd get off saying that. So he's full of shit. You know what? I've been too restrained this whole time. He's full of shit. Jimbo's full of shit. Jimbo, you did buy him. You bought him. Fine. Nobody cares. It's not a world where we're going to say, ooh, test, I hope you get in trouble. It's a world where we say, all right, dog eat dog, go get him. Jimbo, the public's on your side. Stop being like, well, shucks, man. They just came here because they love family and they just love Texas A&M. No, they don't. They don't give a shit about Texas A&M. They want the money. Stop pissing on our leg and telling us it's raining. And today, when Jimbo has all the goodwill in the world, and Saban is the guy that kind of looks like he's twisting in the wind, Jimbo does this like hour-long press conference where he says, basically, he pulled the Ole Miss bullshit from 2013 where he said, hey, these are kids. Hey, you're talking about 17-year-old kids. Yeah, they're 17-year-old kids that you entered into $1 million deals with. They're kids, sure. But don't act like, oh, man, I was just hanging out with kids. You can't get mad at kids. Fuck you, Jimbo. You know what? Don't be full of this bullshit. Fucking Hugh Freeze Part 2 just with a fucking worse accent and less hookers. Maybe as many hookers. I don't know. Point number 6. The drama's great and I love it. The drama's great. We're in the off season. Let them all kill each other. I don't care. I'm a Mississippi State fan. Let it all burn. Burn it to the fucking ground. Somebody say something about Dabo too. Fuck, why not? Hey, Ryan Day, I bet you cheat too. It ain't cheating no more. And it is a world that we are getting used to. But watching Nick Saban squirm, a guy who has dominated the sport. Oh, it popped in my head. And this is something I haven't said recently. But I should have said it on the podcast the other day, but I didn't. You know how I know Nick Saban's full of shit? He came out last week with a mic in his face and said, you know what I miss in college football? Parity. That's what I miss. You killed it. That's like asking Oswald, and Oswald's like, you know who I miss? JFK. You put a hole in his head. You are the one that killed it. The biggest enemy to parity in college football is Nicholas Eugene Saban. That's not his name, but it is today. Nick Saban is the biggest. He destroyed parity in college football. And he shouldn't care about parity in college football. And he doesn't care about parity in college football. But he's full of shit, so he says it. His job is to win for the University of Alabama. They pay him to win championships, and he does it better than anybody. He gets the best coaches, the best players, the best everything, because that's his job. That's what he wants to do. He wants one team to be great and everybody else to die. And that's what a coach is. For him to come out and say, I actually miss when a lot of teams were good. Fuck you. You are full of shit. That's why I can't believe anything you say now. Greatest coach ever, full of shit. Last topic. Point. Whatever. I don't care. Last point. He went after Deion Sanders. I don't have a personal relationship with Deion Sanders. I'm not particularly a friend of Deion Sanders. I don't know Deion Sanders. But coaches going after Deion better be careful. I don't know how good of an X's and O's coach he is. It's a small sample size. But Deion is connecting with these young players. They are going to Deion because of something a lot deeper than NIL, a lot deeper than college football. They are connecting with Deion because he's trying to connect with them. If you get on a mic and say, oh, Deion's only getting this guy because he paid him $1 million, you're daring 100 more guys just like him to go play for Deion. And in about 3 years, 2 years maybe, some Power 5 team is going to say, you know what? Deion is recruiting down there. Let him come recruit for us. He's going to get hired, and he's bringing an army of 4 and 5 stars with him. You realize the University of Alabama's national title-winning head coach took a shot at Jackson State's head coach last night? What does that tell you? Saban sees the sand moving in the college football universe. Crazy time. They're all full of shit. I'm full of shit. I love college football so much. My name is Brandon Walker. That was an Unnecessary Roughness Extra.